From the YBA Phenix Fitness 24/7 basketball facility in Rocklin, California, it's Bout That Life Podcast with your host, Coach C. Collins and Coach MJ.
Start 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hey, how you doing? This is Coach C. Collins, Bout That Life Podcast. I am here to talk more basketball and life and everything in between. Obviously, main emphasis on AAU. Again, if you are listening from the audio side, much appreciated because I know the audio side is much bigger than my YouTube side. Last time I checked, I'm at 76,000 downloads and listens. So please, much appreciated. And I see it literally all over the country. So thank you guys for checking it out. Funny enough, I was in Nike clearance store today, and a couple of people came up to me. They're like, man, I just was listening to your podcast with Jordan Ford and stuff like that. So, much appreciated. Please keep doing that. Let me know I'm doing something right. Hopefully this information is helping you kids, you parents, and everybody in this basketball community of ours. If you feel so inclined and you're listening, like I said, on the audio side, go ahead and follow. Stay active on what I'm putting out there. Again, not doing this to get rich, not doing this to get famous, doing this to give you guys information, trying to give you free game. So getting right into it. I have a guest of mine. I've coached this young man briefly and watched his progression from a young kid with goggles and curly hair and no jump shot to become a pretty good athlete, very good athlete. Let me not undersell this, man. The kid's out here killing. You were at Del Campo, right?
Yes,
high school, just so I got that correct. And ended up getting a scholarship to Davis and then went on his journey. We're going to talk a lot about that. So I think his very similar to Zach Chappelle's, for those who've been on that episode. Get to see the unique journey some of these young men are going and walking right now, because that's the point. I want to give you guys these tips, this information, because maybe it will help you. Maybe you're a young guy listening to this. Maybe you're a parent listening to this and you're trying to figure out the next and best steps to help your son or daughter. So hopefully his journey can help give you guys some insight. But without further ado, let me introduce Cameron Niles. How you doing, man?
Doing great.
Glad you made it.
Appreciate you. Thank you for the intro. Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. So, like we talked about before the show, this is mainly emphasizing AAU basketball, and obviously talk a little bit of life stuff like that. But mainly, obviously, the show, I just want you to share your journey and how it worked, and let people understand kind of the ups and downs, the pros and cons, and they gotta use their discernment and decide those things for themselves. But before we get way into the meat of all that, why don't you tell the audience about yourself, your basketball career, from, high school and collegiately, and your AAU teams, the AAU teams that you played for, and you don't have to go through every single one, but, just the ones that obviously the main ones that had an impact for you and stuff like that. But, let the audience know who you are.
Yeah. So, hi, everyone. My name is Cam Niles, originally from Tacoma, Washington. Lived in Sacramento for about 11, 12 years. Just like you said, I went to Del Campo.
Yep.
Shout out Coach Nobis. Enjoyed my time there, even though I went to high school, unfortunately, during the COVID times.
Yeah, you got hit with that, yeah.
It was kind of cut short, but, still enjoyed it. The AAU teams I played for, one of them being Capital Ballers, that was kind of the team that started me out.
Yep.
I just was kind of hooping. That's when I decided to take hoop seriously.
Shout out to Aaron.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Lava and Coach Aaron. And then I got introduced to Team Arsenal. Shout out Coach KP and Coach Hump. And I played for his team, and, that team was amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. Just
unbelievable Division I talent. We played amazing teams. And that was kind of what got my exposure out and really started to ignite my name. Like I said, COVID had happened, so it kind of died down a little bit, but I was still able to end up with 3 Division I offers, them being UC Davis, Sac State, and UC Riverside. And, I decided to commit to UC Davis because they offered me first, and I, had my visits, knew the guys and kind of knew what I was going into, great academic school.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I was like, this is the fit. This is where I'm going to go.
If you want to be a vet, you could for sure go to Davis because they got a great veterinary department.
Yeah. So, I just was like, this is the best overall fit for me. So, I committed there. I really thought I was going to play coming into my freshman year, and I had high expectations. You know, I was kind of dealing with knee pain when I had got there. You know, anyone that is athletic knows of jumper knee.
Yes.
So, I was kind of dealing with that a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily bothering me too much. So I had got there, you know, I just was in the trainer every day trying to, you know, get it right, you know, make sure that I was healthy for season. And then just a little bit before we kicked off, you know, Coach Les had told me he thought it was best that I would redshirt. And at first I was kind of iffy because I really did want to play. You know? That was my expectation.
Of course.
But, you know, I ended up doing it just because, you know, I was like, it's a free year at a Division I. You know, I could take full advantage of it. You know, I'm getting extra work in. You know, I'm still a full-time student. And, you know, I just felt like it was a good opportunity, you know. So I went that route. You know, I redshirted. And, you know, I felt like I was struggling because, you know, like I was explaining that the adaptation part, you know. I'm 18, going into this big university, you know, they got all these expectations and it's just a lot of pressure, you know, and like I said, it's a lot to adapt to. So at first I definitely say I really struggled, but you know, as the season went on, I really started to find, you know, kind of my rhythm groove, you know, getting all those workouts in and just everything. But, you know, again, the knee issue, you know, was bothering me, and I didn't know the extent of the injury at the time until towards the end of the year until I got an MRI. But, you know, I went through the year, did my best I could. And then towards the end of the year, Coach Les had kind of, you know, brought me into his office and we just had a real conversation, and he felt like that I wasn't ready, and he felt that I was, I guess, necessarily shying away from the work. And, you know, it was kind of a humbling moment in a sense, because that was the last thing I thought, you know, he was going to be talking about, because, you know, I was putting in the work. I was doing all this and that, and doing everything asked of me and everything. And, you know, it's just kind of shocker to me, you know, that he would say those things. And whole time, you know, I got a partially torn meniscus, you know, I got a partially torn tendon, and that I had no idea about, you know, doing this Division I work, high level, high duty, you know what I'm saying? I'm working out twice a day. I'm in the gym,
torn knee.
You know, exactly. So it was a lot, you know, that transition from me going to UC Davis, then transferring to Yuba Community College. It was a lot on my mental. You know, I just was, for one, frustrated. You know, I was like, man, like, he took me in, you know, he had all this hope and everything, and I felt like I put in the work, and he just felt like I was,
like you got brushed to the side or something. Yeah,
literally. And so it definitely put a chip on my shoulder. And that's how I kind of went in towards going into Yuba. You know, I played my first year there, played a lot. You know, we had a really good team.
Absolutely.
You know, my first year, but we ended up getting bounced out in the second round. Okay. So that was kind of I don't know. It was definitely not how we were expecting the season.
Felt like incomplete, you know, right?
Definitely. So it sucked for the sophomores because they were going, you know, and they thought we were going to have a really good chance to make it to the Elite Eight, you know, and just and do something good. Yeah. And so us freshmen, you know, we had a really talented freshman group. Right. And so us knowing that, us having that salty taste in our mouth, you know, we knew what our expectations were going into that second year, you know, and probably the best group of guys I've been around, you know, going into that second year, including the freshmen, just everyone, you know, we had our ups and downs, you know, throughout the year.
That's normal.
Honestly, the second year was so similar to the first year. Yeah. Like in terms of our losses, it's kind of how the season went. You know, we lost to literally the same team in the same tournament, in the same game by 3 points. So it was crazy. It just a lot of similarities. Yeah. But, you know, coming into that playoff run, we knew that, you know, it's time to bite down. It's time to lock in. You know, this is our last chance, you know. And
you guys made it to the Final Four, correct?
We did. Yeah, we did. So we ended up getting into that top 4 seed. And when you get that top 4, you get that first round bye. So we ended up playing 2 games before going to that Elite Eight tournament. And then we went to the Elite Eight tournament, played the team that we lost to in the championship, and ended up beating them. And it was really good game, and that was kind of our like best win of the year. I feel like, because you know we had lost to them twice, you know,
Right.
3 points, and we wanted that win. So it was really nice. And then we ended up playing West Valley, which they were undefeated, and they ended up winning the whole
thing. Okay.
So we played them in the Final Four. It honestly was a defensive game.
Okay.
Both teams shot terrible. But,
that happens, man.
Man, we only ended up losing by like 6 or 7, I believe, and it was a really good game. And it was a tough one to lose because we knew that we were just honestly a couple possessions away from winning that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, that's probably one of the best groups I've been a part of.
Okay.
Shout out the North Beale boys, man. So upsetting that we didn't win it all because we really felt like we were going to win it all, and we definitely had the talent too, but we ended up falling short. And so now that my time at Yuba is done, I have now committed to Carroll College. It's an NAIA out in Montana. Really excited, really stoked for this opportunity.
Congratulations. I know I said that earlier, but again, congratulations.
I appreciate that, because it's been a journey.
Yeah.
It definitely has felt like I've been in college for a lot longer than what it feels like, but I am very, very thankful for the opportunities and all the experiences and people I've met along the way, and like I was saying, I was really angry at first when I had transferred from Davis because, I'm not the kind of guy that wants to stay at a school for 1 year and then bounce out.
Yeah.
I was committed there. I wanted to be there all 4 years and really see what I could do at that kind of level. So I was really angry and, didn't know how to really process it at first. But now looking back on it is probably one of the best things to have happen to me. I've learned so much from it. And, I'm just glad that I went through that experience. So
sound like you becoming a man.
For sure.
Because you're still young, kid. Trust me, I'm old. You're young. Yeah, but that's great stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll delve into more of those nuances. I got the questions. Trust me, I type out my script and I'll memorize it. That's just, I've done this a long time now. So, but the first question I generally always ask every person who's been on this show who's played AAU, which generally pretty much everyone has at this point. Now that you're removed from it and you're kind of looking from the outside in, you can look kind of back at your own AAU journey and kind of where it currently sits today. I mean, you got social media just like the rest of us. You see the videos, you see all the kind of the weird, good, bad stuff that's going on with AAU basketball. And obviously you experience some of it yourself. And like you said, being with Capital Ballers and KP and Arsenal. And and he did briefly play for YBA too, where Coach had him. So he did that too. He did both. So I had to throw us in there. I'm biased. But no, but now being out of it for several years, what are kind of some of the pros, some of the cons? What is your overall assessment of AAU as a whole? Whether you want, like I said, whether you want to speak on your time in it or, just kind of as an outsider now, what would you say?
Definitely think it's become more of a show for the most part, just trying to get the clicks or whatnot. But, teams like Team Arsenal, they always doing good work. I always salute KP because he's always finding dogs that, they want to play the game the right way, and they want to, and he puts them in the tournaments necessary. And, he finds these guys great places, to get offers and commit. And so. And
I like KP. A lot of people don't like his ass because he is kind of and it's funny. I talk shit to him because, we talk one-on-one. Like that's like, even though we're competitors business wise, I got a lot of respect for him as a man and a father and one brother to another trying to make some shit of himself. But no, I tell him like, bro, I'll be like, why you always an asshole? Why you always got to come on like an asshole? But a lot of people don't realize he actually is a really good dude. And he cares about you guys a lot.
Absolutely. He is one of the greatest coaches I've ever. So like I said, I salute him, and I'm not too sure, obviously I know your program. I know you're doing the same thing, trying to get guys the best opportunities and
do what I can, man.
I still salute that because I feel like it's more rare now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the competitive side of, going to those tournaments, those big tournaments still are, but I think though that side of AAU is still good, you know, because it's just, if a coach is willing to give his kids opportunities and, you know, obviously wanting to play basketball the right way,
right.
I think it's a good aspect, but I think the bad aspects are obviously people just trying to, you know, I see all these people just creating these super teams or whatnot and just going out to these random AAU tournaments, and, you know, it's cool and all, like, you know,
trophy chasing, trying to get medals and wins and T-shirts and it's
cool and stuff like that. But in terms of you know, if you're a young kid trying to get an opportunity and fit in somewhere, you know, I would suggest finding a coach who's really willing to go those depths, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope it stays in a good area. You know, I definitely, especially with all this college madness.
Yeah.
I hope that young kids still get a chance to, you know, expose themselves and show to these college coaches that they're, you know, ready for that level.
Right.
You know, because I feel like it's definitely a lot harder than it ever was.
Absolutely.
You know, I thought it was hard, and even, you know, after COVID had happened, it was really hard at that point. So
no doubt.
I really want young kids, because young kids are the future.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the more we keep that standard of basketball intact, I think, you know, it'll always stay in shape. So
yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, and again, like you said, you're not kind of in it, so just giving you kind of a brief overview on my viewpoint of it is AAU's kind of become big in the sense of volume, right? Got a bunch of kids, a bunch of coaches, say that loosely, and a bunch of programs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I love seeing the basketball grow in and in itself. I mean, the Olympics, if anything, was a testament to this year. You know, you think about, they always kept saying this number, but, you know, they said how many NBA players were in the 92 Olympics to how many NBA players were in this Olympics. It was like, you know, I think they said when Jordan and them did it in 92, it was like 6. Yeah. And then this one, it was like almost 70.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that clearly shows the growth that basketball's had in the world, which I love to see. And you can see it in the AAU sphere as well. But now you do have kind of a lot of kids with a lot of options. Let's say, like, so in case, well, people know I'm going to put your links to your social media stuff in the journey, but just if you're listening or if you're checking it out on YouTube, let me give you guys a quick synopsis on what his game style was like when he was young. Cam was a very athletic kid, natural slasher, always was super athletic. You and Aiden were both just, you know, long, lanky, athletic kids that could just run and jump and do it and get it done. And shout out to Aiden. I literally was texting him the other day. You know, he's in the military. Yeah, he's in the military. Yeah, and I still tell him, I'm like, you're the greatest athlete that never played college. Like, that kid should have played college, but you know what? It's okay.
He was gonna. At least Corn was telling me he wanted to go to Yuba and stuff like that, and I think that was after my freshman year, so I was kind of excited.
Yeah, that would have been, man.
Yeah, because that would have been.
But you know what, Aiden, getting your life together, and the military is definitely not a bad outlook. So. Exactly. Yeah. But no, like, his game was, you know, like you said, he was very athletic. Couldn't shoot at first, and developed that over the years. And really, I watched your game evolve from afar. You know, from just coaching against you, and obviously, like, when I got to know Aaron and Lava and working with them and all that stuff. So watching your game evolve was a lot of fun. Well, you know, guys like him, you know, the natural athletes, that's great. You know, that might get you noticed, right? But then I'm sure as you learn, the skill portion has to, you know, catch up, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I noticed that, you know, at UC Davis. But you know, I was putting in the work and workouts. But yeah, I realized how big of an aspect shooting and just playmaking and being able to read and even just defending. You know, people take that aspect out of the game at all times, but being able to defend your position or even defend multiple positions is very important, and it really increases your value once you understand that aspect and you're able to grasp that, because when you get to that level, everyone can do what you do. Right. Like you said, better. Yeah. You know, so you got to learn what you can provide to the game or even to the team that isn't already there. Mm-hmm. So,
and then, well, like, to land on my point of everything is what I'm saying is, like, with the growth of basketball right now, it's kind of, or with AAU basketball right now, it's gotten so big to where even some levels feel more like competitive rec as opposed to where, I think, pre-COVID, a lot of people might not know this, or, if you weren't from this area, you don't know this. Remember Hardwood Palace used to get 3 games a weekend.
Yeah.
Now they only do 2. And quite honestly, a lot of those weekends you would get some pretty good competitive games.
Absolutely.
Be honest with you now, that's not what it is anymore.
Because it's all just about, who's going to provide the biggest highlights
right.
and stuff like that. Like I remember some of these games I had here, they were just super competitive.
Yeah.
Just really, really good basketball.
Absolutely.
That's why I said that's where basketball is really good at. And I wish we would kind of stray away from the highlight side of basketball and just trying to watch it for the offensive highlights or stuff like that, because the game is, in a sense, really beautiful when you break down the game, and it's not just the offense, it's how you collectively perform as a team. You know what I'm saying? And, we were going to talk about Team USA, but I wanted to bring up Devin Booker because he just was, a lot of people didn't really notice him, and they were kind of giving him like slander in a sense, and he was honestly one of the best players for Team USA. He's guarding, their point guards. He's playing competitive defense. He's not letting his guy blow past him. He's taking these Klay Thompson threes, just catch and shoot. He's not doing too much. He's not trying to dribble and trying to get his.
He did what was necessary for the team.
Exactly, and so I think he was one of the main reasons why they went on to win it all.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you had Curry going bananas.
Curry is just. That's a whole nother topic of the things that kid can do, man. Like, no, real talk. Like, that's what it's all about, right? That's kind of understanding the premise of having to adopt a role and things like that. But that's the unfortunate side, I say, with what's happening with AAU. The size of it, the volume of it has gotten way bigger from even when you played. But the problem is it's losing its competitive edge. And a byproduct of it is, too, kids are somewhat harder to retain and someone coachable. Because like for you, for instance, you were with, Aaron and Lava for a long time, you know what I mean? And that's also another unique siding. And for you guys, you don't know, because we're talking like you guys know. So for the audience, these are women. These are women coaches. Just so you guys understand, which is rare in AAU men's basketball on top of that. And don't get it twisted. These ladies were tough as nails and were getting your shit. So don't listen. Trust me, don't take it lightly because they were women. Right. But I know they really cared about you and invested in you and wanted what was best for you. But yeah, you do have a lot of kids. Well, you know me, man. And the way I'm the same. I'm still that old school, I'm gonna tell you about yourself. I'm a motherfuck you a little bit, right? Because if you're older, this ain't when you're a little kid, no. But when you're 17, 18, I'm gonna tell you about yourself a little bit. But I'm always gonna do it out of love. I'm gonna do it out of respect. I'm gonna do it because I want what's best for you. But nowadays, you got kids that are like, oh, I don't like. Oh, you're telling me I have to work hard? No, I'm gonna go play over here now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And then they hear the same thing over there. Oh, I'm gonna go play over there now. I'm gonna go play. You know what I mean? Then you have these kids that are playing for like 10 different teams.
Yeah.
And that's just unheard of. You know what I mean? You always had kids who bounced around. Those kids always existed, but now it seems like there's becoming more and more of that.
It's way more common than it was.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
Yeah.
In a sense, I wish, I don't know where it came from or whatnot, but, I think, and me personally, I'm obviously young, but, I want to be grounded where I'm at, what I'm saying? Because it tells a lot as you as a character. And, I feel like you're able to build these relationships and build these bonds, that, you can never get back. When you're just jumping around from team to team, it just is like, he's on another team, and it's just, I don't know. I wish it wasn't the way it was.
I think that also unfortunately starts to become your reputation. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Right. And then I know, because I talk to college coaches all the time, Brandon Barnes being one of the ones we talk a lot of one-on-one stuff all the time, but they'll say publicly like, oh, we don't care, if a kid's bouncing from here to here to here. But truth be told, behind is that they do care. Yeah. They notice your habits. They're like, what I mean? Yeah. They'll say, again, like I said, publicly, and this is just me giving y'all free games just so you understand, like, yes, college coaches will say publicly like, oh, no, you can play for team, why not? And this team and this team and this team. We don't care. But the truth be told, when they're having those meetings with each other, trust me, they're questioning those things about you.
Absolutely, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to offer you a scholarship that's worth hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
for them to be like, if he's going to come here for a year, why even offer him?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's showing your character, and to them, that's what they take it as. Okay, you're showing me your character, and then you circle it back. And this is where I hold parents accountable, because I say they learn these habits from the parents, because parents pull their kids to team to team to team. They don't typically a high school kid doesn't just wake up and start doing that.
Yeah.
They learn that's learned behavior that they learn from, 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of where AAU sits. The volume's bigger, a lot of kids in it. Basketball is a very popular thing right now, which is great, but that's what I would say the negative side is.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's gonna go, but that's why I do this show, just to talk about it.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to talk to you about was just in general, you being at Davis, like you said, redshirting, kind of going through the mental hurdles and the physical ones, right? What kept you going, or what helped you to kind of, like you said, stay focused in, of course, the frustration off of what you, because let's keep it a buck. A lot of people will look at like what you did as like you went backwards, right, in their mind.
For sure.
Because, we live in this culture, it's D1 or bust, right? Every kid's fucking D1. Everyone's D1. Me and Ted always say this joke. We say everyone's D1 until you go JC, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody
Literally
has this image in their mind of, and if you're not at a Division I, everything else is just beneath it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, you were there. Unfortunately, like you said, it didn't necessarily go the way you wanted it to in your mind. And you had to pick yourself up and end up having 2 really good years at a very good JUCO. If in case any guys want to look up Yuba City men's basketball, look up their history. Coach Korn has done great work there for years.
20 years of great.
Yeah, exactly. And then to now be at a point where you're at a school, it's being paid for, you get to finish out your career and, get your education and be a man. Shit, you know what I mean? Like, how'd you mentally stay locked in with all this?
I think for me, for one, the love of the game, this is what I've been doing for so long, and it just, I'm not going to sit here and say I never thought like, is basketball really for me?
Yeah, of course.
I thought that hundreds of times. And, it was kind of especially from Davis, it just was like, is this even really for me? I got to the top of the top and they don't even want me.
Right.
So I would say the passion of the game, it really kept me in and kept me sane, I guess. I was like, I don't even know who I am without basketball.
Right.
And just knowing that if I put my mind to it, I can really get there,
Okay.
And one person I really think about is Jalen Wells. Shout out to Jalen Wells.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Jalen. Yeah.
And, he literally he started out at D2, went to D1, and now he's in the NBA. And
as well as I do, no one thought Jalen was going to be,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
He just was kind of a kid. He's like, he's averaging these great numbers, but is he really that good?
Right.
So honestly, it really is, how bad do you want it? Everyone has that passion in something, and if you really dig deep and you get through the hurdles, because throughout the journey, like I said, I question myself. Every other person is going to question themselves. Of course, everyone else has that journey. They have their ups and downs, and some people quit, some people keep going, and wherever it takes you. But me personally, it's just I put in so much time, I put in so much dedication and effort, and to even be blessed to play at a high level still, and have an opportunity to just like you said, have free education, and that was kind of another big thing, is like I can go get my degree for free. I've been on scholarship for all 4 years now, and that's
100%
big blessing, and I don't take it for granted at all. And it's just like, you got to look at it not as I was at Davis and I wasn't wanted, but these other places want me, and I can go there, and we were talking about the system. It's all about the system. If you fit there, you're going to thrive. And if the coach trusts you and you put in the work, you're going to do good. You're going to do what you need to. And, that's what I kept telling myself, even though I didn't play at Davis, and, I had two solid years at Yuba.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I had the years that I wanted. I definitely feel like I could have done more offensively and just other things of that nature. But,
I think I just think every athlete always has that, you know what I mean, in the back of our head. We always think like, damn, I could have did more. So I know what you mean there.
But, going into this new college, I feel like I have everything. The coach has the vision for me. I like the way he views the game. And I feel like it's going to be really good for me. So I think just mentally, you just got to know that the hurdles are going to come. There's always going to be downs, but there's going to be ups as well. You got to enjoy those. And if it's something that you really love, you're going to stick with it and you're just going to keep going.
Okay. And obviously, your mom's, she's always been in your corner, right? She's always been your mama bear. Like, it was a scene I remember seeing her always at the games, cheering for you and rooting you on. I'm sure you had, some conversations with her and, like your family and friends, like your circle, right? But was that a big help as well?
Yeah, I definitely believe that your support system, obviously me, I believe in God, so that was obviously a big help as well. But shout out to my mom also. I love you. Just having that support system and knowing that, having someone tell you that no matter what you do, like she's going to be there for you. Yeah. And that it really means a lot. You might not necessarily notice it in the moment, but she was always there for me. She's always been a phone call, just a hug, just a conversation away. And that goes a long way, because if you have that and if you don't have that, I would suggest that you just try to find a small group or someone, just that one person, you could just sit there and just talk to and get stuff off your chest, because it's really important. I necessarily wasn't the biggest communicator, growing up. Yeah. I always kept.
You were quiet. Now think about it. You're kind of a quiet kid. That's why I'm shocked at the young man I see in front of me, because you were such a quiet kid, but you speak well, you handle yourself well, you carry yourself well. Like, you've definitely grown up, kid.
I always was the quiet person, just like you said. I always kept things in, and it was kind of weird, because I was, if you talk to me, I would be having this conversation. I'd always be able to talk to someone so easily, but I wouldn't initiate that. And like I said, going through that Davis time, it really taught me a lot. Especially the mental hurdles. Having doubt in myself and just really rethinking everything, and being able to go through that and still be able to be where I'm at today is a blessing. And, also I got to thank God,
of course.
He blessed me with so much, and just all this wisdom I have now, being at a young age. So just definitely blessed. Just a blessing. Yeah.
Well, I wanted you to talk about the workouts, right? Like D1 workouts, right? I think, and, you can go on countless podcasts, but we all talk about the college workouts, and, it don't matter the level. Let's just even take away D1. Let's just say college, right? Like JUCO, NAI, D3, D2, D1. You going to work. Once you get there, you are going to fucking work. Absolutely. 2 to 6 hours a day, 5 days, 6 days a week. I mean, it's coming, right? Maybe I want you to speak on, if you can, because again, I have a lot of kids that listen to this show. Yeah. A lot of aspiring athletes. Even parents that didn't necessarily play basketball or sports, but they know their kid loves it. So and I always try to tell them, like, you will really find, for one, you'll probably be in some of the greatest shape of your life when you're in college. That's a benefit, sure. But there's a price of admission to get to that point. And I just kind of wanted you to speak on those workouts, how hard they are, how you have to be consistent, rehab your body, listen to your body. Like you said, you were dealing with knee pain and still had to kind of figure it out. So if you could speak on that a little bit.
I definitely think at the higher levels, it will be a lot more beneficial, because you have those resources. You got the beautiful gyms. You got the programs that you get put on and stuff like that. So that part definitely does help. But I got a taste of the JUCO. JUCO is a lot harder because you don't have those resources, and you're going to have to be more disciplined and dedicated, because, you might still be spending that same time, but, you have lesser time. So the coach is going to want to emphasize the offense, the defense, the literal aspects part of the game. But in terms of getting better, that's going to be on you. Right. So, JUCO, you got to Yuba is an hour away from here, and I was commuting every day. So, there were some times where I had to stay an hour longer or get there an hour earlier, just so I can get up shots. So I would definitely say that JUCO is a lot more of a grind. But in terms of the UC Davis workouts, they were very intense. When you were in that gym, you were working. And if you weren't working, you were going to get chewed out. Yeah. So, how it worked when I was a redshirt at Davis, we would have our own workouts with the coaches, just us, the red shirts. Yeah. It would be on game days or, before practice. We also were in the weight room a lot more. So we had usually we didn't travel with the team. Yeah. So when they were away, we would have workouts with our strength and conditioning coach and kind of just, you could still put in the work if you wanted to. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah. But it was a lot more structured, and it was a lot easier to just stay in that routine. And it was, I was ripped.
Ripped that's what I'm saying. You're gonna be in great shape.
It definitely is worth it. And but to the younger kids out there that are going to the JUCO route, you gotta stay disciplined, and you gotta actually want to do that for yourself, because if you don't, you're going to regret it in the long run. And if you're putting in that time, because a lot of the JUCO kids, I will say that they're not doing that, because some kids at the JUCO level, they're gonna take it as high school.
I call it the 13th grade. Yeah, they think it's the 13th. It's like, no, it's you're a college athlete now.
It's definitely good basketball, but a lot of kids will still try to rely on their skill, natural talent to get above. But if you're working and you're in the gym and you stay dedicated, it's gonna show. You're gonna have the year that shocks everyone in a sense. But it's definitely important to stay locked in JUCO, because you don't have those resources, and you have lesser opportunities, and it's like I said, it's harder to stay in a routine. It's not going to be the same thing every day, because practice times are different, or you got classes and stuff like that. So
and then too, when it comes to JUCO, just the atmosphere is very similar to I've had G League players on the show, like Jordan Ford is a great example. One, Christian Terrell was here just this week before you came on. And, the G League and JUCO to me are very similar atmospheres, meaning everyone wants to get out. You know what I mean? Everybody's hungry to get out. So you are ultra competitive, you know what I mean? Not even just against the other team, but with your own teammates, because if the guy next to you isn't as hungry as you are, he might fuck things up for you. And it's like, dude, you get to a point like, hey man, you either get your shit together or get out this gym. You know what I'm saying? So it's it is an interesting jump from that, because I was a JUCO kid, so I know exactly what it's like. I went to Sac City. Okay. Yeah, I went to Sac City, even though, and during the time I was there, it's fucking a million years ago, but because it was all Los Rios district, I was actually taking some classes at ARC at the same time while I was going to Sac City. Okay. And so, we had practice at 5 a.m. It was 5 or 6 a.m. 6 a.m. Right. And I was working UPS at the time. So I would get off from UPS, my night shift, which was from 11 p.m. to 3 or 4 a.m., maybe get an hour or whatever, sleep, head to the JUCO, practice from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and then go to my classes, and then go pass the fuck out when I went home. That's a grind. That's why I tell people, when they came out that Netflix show, I was like, oh yeah, I know what that's like. I know exactly what that's literally. That was my life, and this is pre, social media and all that. But at this time, it was MySpace. So it was different. But that's why I'm I tell kids, you will have to. You have to really, really want to play basketball, to love the game, to my coach said this to me, and I say it as an analogy because it rings so true. Basketball will never say, I love you back. Absolutely. It is a one-sided relationship.
And I think you can say that for anything. Because, right. Like I said, any passion you're in, you're going to have to put those countless hours in, and you might not get nothing in return. And so, I think that's even more important for the younger generation. At times you're not going to get the results that you want. Right. There's going to be times where you're putting up, so many shots and stuff like that, but it's not showing in game. But you honestly you got to stick to it, because if you keep doing it, you'll start building that confidence. And it's important to stay locked in. And I like that quote because it's important.
Let me ask you, because this is your generation, and it's funny because, again, it's just always kind of surreal when I sit with guys like you that I watch grow up and become, men, like Kai Huntsberry. When I have Kai on the show, it's still crazy to me. This is he a grown man, because I see the little 8th grade chubby kid, 7th grade chubby kid that I go, as much as I see, let's say here in front of you, I still see the kid with the goggles and the curly hair, just bouncy all over. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, what I wanted to speak on, because this is obviously a big impactor in your guys' generation, is your social media has grown a lot. You know what I mean? You're following, I remember when you announced I think, the offer from Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I think your fucking following blew up like that. And it was, and again, I was just like, I was happy for you. I was just like proud of you and whatnot. And it's, what's your outlook when it comes to social media? I mean, I know you're not like a content creator or nothing like that, but I'm just saying that is your generation. For me, I'll be real. This is mainly for information, to educate. I use my social media also to promote, obviously, my business. YBA is a business. My training's a business. So for me, it's more on the business aspect,
Absolutely.
right? For you, just being a young guy and it's just a part of your world, how do you balance that, or have a healthy relationship between social media and whatnot?
I think when I was younger, like I said, I think what started that was that one crazy dunk I had. And it got posted by Baller's Life or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I definitely was like so into that. I was so wrapped around it. I was like, oh my God.
And I get it. It's hard not to be. I mean, let's be real. It's a dopamine hit, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't lie. I sometimes get TikTok brain and I'm watching videos. It's hard to escape it. Obviously, I want to say, because I'm older and I remember life before cell phones is different. But see, like for you, your life has always been around the internet, and you know what I mean? So, no, I 100% get it.
I was, like I said, I was a young kid, you know, especially during the time no one in Sacramento was like, I guess, doing that, had the Division I looks, offers, and, like even I was noticing in high school, like all the teachers were giving me this crazy treatment. All the kids were like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, I remember.
It's kind of like just feeling like on top of the world.
Yeah.
So, when I was in that, I definitely was like so airheaded with it. I just was so involved with it, so worried about it. But as I've gotten older, I just realized, it doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Clicks, followers, there's people that'll follow you that don't even like you. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So, I kind of think it's really important to stay away from that kind of stuff and kind of bring yourself back to the real world, because if you stay into that stuff, man, it'll, I guess, hinder your growth in a sense, So I don't know. I feel like social media has its good parts, just like you said, promoting your business. If you're doing that kind of stuff, promoting it for the good reasons, I feel like nowadays I just promote it, just to spread the word of God. I just feel like it's very important on my part. I feel like God blessed me with a certain amount of following, and, I just want to do my best to give him the glory. But, I think it's important, to just promote it for the good reasons.
Right.
Just if you got a business or if you have a passion.
Like you said, or the gospel. And
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and finding that balance, right?
Exactly. So, I definitely do my fast from it. I like to get away from it and just realize that that's not real life. People get so caught up in it and, oh, what's this person doing? What's that person doing? And people spend so much time watching other people's lives. You got to step back and realize what you got going on, what you got to fix and what you got to improve. And so, like I said, it has its good parts, but definitely I think it's more bad than good, because people are so wrapped and involved in it, and they just think that it matters so much for some reason, and people are so worried about what other people think about them. I used to do that a lot when I was younger. I used to care so much what other people thought.
It's funny when you look back at yourself and you're like, damn, that was me, huh?
Literally. Cringy. It's crazy. So I'm really glad I've gotten out of that. But, just like you said, it's kind of hard, because when you grow up in it, you're just so accustomed to it. And it's just the norm. Like social media is the norm.
Yeah.
And so just my advice is just try to once in a while, or even, however often you can, just step away from it. Just get out of it. Maybe I like being in nature. I like going to lakes, hikes, stuff like that. And so being in Montana, I'll definitely be doing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So my advice would be just to find something outside of that world and just try to spend as much time, whether that be nature, whether it be writing or journaling, whatever it is.
Right.
I feel like you just get in that, and with no distractions, none of that outside of it. And it'll really help a lot because it clears your mind when you're so gassed and filled up with that social media nonsense. It's just,
it's everywhere.
Exactly.
My last question before we segue into some of the other stuff. What aspirations, if any, do you have outside of basketball? Like, what do you, when the ball stops bouncing, what's that Cam looking like? What are you thinking, you might have a passion for outside of that?
I have a lot of ideas, a couple that have come to mind. One being a clothing brand.
Nice.
I've always wanted to build my own clothing brand. And I also major in psychology. And so what I kind of wanted to do with that, if I'm blessed enough to be able to get to the high ranks of basketball, if I get to the NBA or even if I don't, I kind of want to build a little therapy, a little small business for athletes. Because when I was at Davis, I was really struggling mentally. Yeah. And, not to say that I didn't have help, but it didn't necessarily feel like urgent to people around me. And I mean that to like the coaches and stuff like that. Like they gave me people to reach out to, but we were still recovering from COVID. So like they wanted to set up Zoom appointments and stuff like that. And I know we're outside of COVID and stuff like that now, but I still feel like athletes, you hear all the time how they talk about how they go through.
Sports therapy is a big growing field. It is a growing industry because, I've talked to a few sports psychologists myself, just, one-on-one. Not that I need it. I ain't playing no more, but but like, no, just getting their insight and how they talk to people. And some of them have dealt with, NBA players, NFL players, soccer players, just all kind of different athletes. And it is an emerging field because this is also part of why I do this show. And I've mentioned it before. I want people, when they look at the show, they hear the show, whatever, it humanizes you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people from the outside looking in could just see, oh, he's just another athlete. Typical light-skinned athlete with tattoos. Like, he ain't got much going on up here. You know what I mean? I think there's a caricature of who they think we are as athletes. That's why, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant, when he retired and some of the stuff he was doing outside of basketball, like when he won, was it the Emmy or Grammy? No, Emmy, I think, for the letter he did to basketball, that things like that. Just showing that, like, I had Deion Taylor on my show. He's a movie director from Sacramento. I swear you probably seen a few of his movies. But he played hoop. He played hoop overseas, things like that. But I enjoy having people like this. Lance Woods, the comedian, when he was on my show, he loves basketball. He hoops with me and stuff all the time, but obviously he's a comedian, right? So I try to show insight in the human side of us as athletes. Obviously, sports and basketball is a huge cornerstone in who we are, but that's not all we are. Yeah. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
For sure. When I was at Davis, I kind of had a reality check. I wasn't necessarily enjoying hoop. It's kind of the first time that I didn't have that igniter when I was going to practice every day and I was hooping. I just was kind of like,
just going through the motions, basically.
Literally.
Yeah.
So, I feel like that was what I really struggled with because I didn't know who I was outside of that. I feel like my identity was inside of basketball. And so I even just recently started to figure out what I like outside of hoop and what I enjoy and stuff like that. And it's so important because, like I said, you're not always going to enjoy basketball. And there's going to be times where you don't find that passion and you don't have that igniter. And it's just good to step into other things because it's a refresher. Yeah. Because we get so wrapped and so involved in what we're doing in the grind and stuff like that. And so I struggled a lot at Davis and just even at Yuba, I feel like I did it as well because it just was just a lot to intake. And like I said, it's not just a one answer. You can't just find what you love outside of basketball like that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta dig. You gotta be able to experiment and stuff like that. And so I'm just doing that and just trying new things and just figuring out what I like, who I am outside of basketball, you know, what I find joy in has really been a helpful insight, because, you know, when I am going through those tough times in basketball, you know, I can still go through that grind, but outside of that, I'm not so, you know, wrapped up in it, and I can, you know, find my peace in God, you know, like reading his Bible, or like I said, going to nature and just enjoying the beauty of nature, you know, and stuff like that. So I think it's super important to find something outside of basketball that you really love, or not even basketball, just whatever.
Whatever you have a passion for, right?
Yeah. So I think it's just important to, like I said, just kind of.
No, that's good. Well, this just popped into my head too. Before, if you could talk to athletes, or if you could zero in on two or three things every athlete needs, because, you know, like I said, athletes and parents listen to the show, but what are two or three things that you think they will need in order to, you know, be a high-level varsity player to a collegiate player, you know, and beyond? What would you say are like two or three things they need to have in order to make that happen?
For one, I would say discipline. Discipline is going to be a key factor in doing anything in life, because if you don't stick the course, you know, you're not going to achieve your goals or whatever it may be in your area of field. So I would say discipline. And, you know, me personally, you know, I don't want to be that person to try to, you know, force my belief onto anyone.
No, I know what you mean.
Know, me personally, it's just, I found my relationship and my belief in God, because I felt like it was so important to
faith. That's just all, like you said, have faith. Whatever you believe in, having faith in something, right?
This world is cruel, man. It kicks you down and it leaves you there, and it doesn't stop for nobody. So just having that faith in God and knowing that he can give me that peace outside of this world is just truly is a blessing. So I would say, if you're open to it, you know, put your faith in God, Jesus Christ, and that's important. Another thing is, man, it's a tough question.
No, I try, man. I'm trying to give some insightful questions. He said discipline, faith. What would you say the last thing you need?
Discipline, faith, and I guess it's joy. You know, I would say try to find the joy in basketball or whatever you may are doing, because if you're not loving what you're doing, you shouldn't do it, you know? And, you know, obviously if you get to the high levels, you do get paid well, but, you know, even those big time athletes, they don't find joy in it. And it really takes a decline on their mental health, you know, because it's just being an athlete, especially at that level, it's a lot. You know, you gotta intake a lot, you know, there's just so many aspects to every sport. And so if you're not enjoying it, you're going to be crushed. And so I just think joy is a big one that is not talked about enough. You know, obviously you hear people all the time say, oh, just have fun while you're out there, you know, and it's just kind of like a thing that's thrown out there. But, you know, you really got to enjoy it. You know, like I said, if just kind of putting it back to the Team USA. Kind of easier. But, you know, I kind of compared, you know, Tyrese Halliburton versus Jason Tatum. You could tell a big difference. Tyrese was just happy to be there. You know? Even though he knew he wasn't going to get the PT or anything like that, he was still enjoying his time. Rather than Tatum, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that he shouldn't have been playing or whatnot. It's not my place to say, but you could tell he was not happy to be. He's on the bench. He's not, you know, he's clapping or whatnot, but he doesn't want to be there. And so I think when you look at those two things, someone who enjoys it, right? He's not getting no PT, but he's having the time of his life. You know what I'm saying? Rather than someone who's not getting PT and he just
being miserable. It's all about attitude and perspective.
Exactly.
Right? No, that's a great way to look at it. I like that. I'm gonna move on into oops, not that one. Wrong button. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Hot takes. So speaking of the Olympics, because obviously that's something everyone is happy and rejoicing to talk about. Team USA, men's and women's, went out there, did their thing, won in France. 2028, the Olympics will be here in LA. That's going to be crazy. Maybe I'll shit, I might try to get some tickets now. I'm gonna try to get a spot there now. But yeah, that's gonna be a hell of a show when that happens. You know what? Like we've obviously talked about a lot of good points on that, but watching the Olympics, you know, seeing Steph, KD, LeBron, you know, watching, well, I shouldn't say the end of an era because it's not the end. Those guys still got some fuel in the tank. You know what I mean? But it's still like you said, Tatum, his time wasn't now, but it will be. You know what I mean? It's like your time's coming. Just, you know, be patient, right? Be patient, young fella. Like, but you know, looking at that basketball, that brand of basketball, and for them to do what they did, and just and truth be told, that game against France, neither team shot well. No. Either they didn't. That's a lot of people.
I mean, I think Team USA made a lot of threes.
Yeah,
yeah. That was what really kind of had them in the lead for majority of the game.
Yeah.
But I think in the second half they definitely
but as I'm saying, like the overall field goal percentages for both teams weren't like the best, but ultimately who cares? It's about who can put the ball in more than the other one. And clearly Steph showed he could do that. It was this funny meme I was looking at today. They showed Steph when he took that like fadeaway three over the two defenders. Yeah. And you had KD and LeBron with their hands up like this, asking for the ball. And they're like, imagine looking off KD and LeBron while you shoot your three. It's like, you know, even as a young hooper like yourself, man, when you look at a player like a Steph, you know, what do you see? What do you think when you see just that type of ability and whatnot?
You know, for one, I usually am a big Steph hater. I'm a Kings fan.
Yeah. All right, I get it. Fair enough.
I'm never rooting for Steph. You know what I'm saying? So I'm usually looking at him like, oh, here come these things. But you know, it was really just cool to sit there and just be a fan of basketball and just watching all these great players play together. And I honestly think it was what basketball needed in a sense, because I feel like, you know, there was always, you know, there was a lot of talk seeing like Team USA's, you know, declining. Stuff like
of
that.
Course.
So I think it was really cool for them to, you know, team up and being able to see them play together, and just the impact they had was just really fun to watch. Yeah. And Steph doing his thing, you know, it was crazy. when he shot that fadeaway three, I'm sitting there like, what is
it? Right. And he's the only one that can take that shot that you just like, that's what he does.
I think everyone, in a sense, you know, when he shot it, just was like, wow.
Right.
He's really shooting this.
Yeah.
And for the fact for it to go in was even more just.
I know, bro. That's just what he does. Like, let's talk about the women's side.
Yeah.
Obviously, women's basketball is growing big time.
Yeah.
That's the janitor's dog. Don't hear a dog. You can't say you're a dog in the mic. That's the janitor's dog. Janitor's coming in to clean the gym. But women's basketball has grown, obviously, a lot. You got the introduction of, obviously, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, that whole rookie class and whatnot. You know, me as a basketball purist, I enjoy to see it. You know, I'm one of the few, I think, people that was watching the WNBA before, you know, Caitlin Clark and all that stuff. And to be fair, I'm not going to make it seem like I was watching it religiously, but there's, you know, certain teams I will watch, like, you know, and certain players. I'm like, okay, I'm going to check it out. Just curious if you had any thoughts on kind of seeing the growth of the women's side and women's basketball, and, you know, what you think overall.
Yeah, I honestly think it's really good for the game, not only for basketball, but for women's as well. You know, I was kind of talking to one of my friends the other day and just talking about this, because, you know, some people are still in that show of like WNBA, like they don't got talent or whatnot. But if you sit there and watch, like, you know, I watched Caitlin Clark in the March Madness and just kind of doing what she was doing, these fadeaway step back threes and stuff like that. It just was, I was like, all right, like, this is the new generation.
Yeah, she go hoop.
So Caitlin Clark and all these other players, you know, bringing the excitement to WNBA, and I think it's really good because, you know, I feel like it's long overdue. You know, I feel like they should have been respected more. You know, people like, I don't want to mispronounce her name, but Diana
Taurasi. Yeah,
one of the GOATs.
Absolutely.
And just, you know, she's been doing it for a long time.
Forever.
And she's still doing it. And then I even feel like Sabrina doesn't get enough love.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like she was kind of supposed to be what Caitlin was.
Yes.
You know, bringing that excitement to the game. But, you know, I feel like people kind of underlooked her, but she got a fire shoe. But
yeah, she does. She does. I agree with you.
No, I really think it's good for the game because it just brings a new exciting element to the game. You know, you're not going to see many dunks like you do
of course,
you know, NBA or whatnot. But, you know, it's just, if you love basketball, if you love watching good basketball, I think you should get into it and sit down there and watch a WNBA game because it is competitive.
Yeah.
It is a lot more competitive now, I would say. And it's definitely a lot different. I think their seasons are a lot shorter.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's good. It's good basketball.
I think what's tough, and I talked about this a few shows ago, I think what's tough when it comes to women's basketball, they have quite a few hurdles, just being honest. But the one thing I think that's really tough is the placement of their season. Their season is in the summer. And that's just hard because people want to go play. You know what I mean? They don't want to go. People are gone. People are doing vacations.
Absolutely.
Kids are out. So, you know what I mean? But you can't really. You can't put it like in winter because it's competing with football. You're not winning against football. It's just not going to happen. You can't do it in conjunction with the NBA season. So, you know, and you can't, and springtime is usually baseball time, you know, so you can't, maybe you can kind of compete with that some, but that's still America's pastime, right? So, you know, it is a very tough spot trying to figure out the right placement for their season. I think if they can figure that out, the powers that be, if they can come together and figure out a way to slide it maybe a little earlier, while I say primarily while kids are still in school, right? You know, things like that. But again, it's just tough because you can't slide it too early because like you couldn't do it in March, right? Because that's March Madness. That's college time. You know, you can't. You maybe April. You know, it's just going to be weird. But I think that's what they struggle with the most is just the placement of the season.
Yeah, I think they could. I think they should maybe just keep it where it's at, you know, because I understand it's the summer, but people are always going to watch sports.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
no doubt.
And so I think, you know, I used to work at Buffalo Wild Wings, and so like during the summertime, there's not really many sports going on.
Right.
Just like you say, you got summer or you got baseball or whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think they're in a good place. Like I said, all the excitement, you know, bringing around it, people will definitely start paying more attention to it. I think they should maybe expand it a little bit more.
Well, they did make the Valkyries, the you know, in the Bay, so that's coming, so that's good.
So I think that they should keep expanding it, obviously, with the more people watching it and whatnot. But I think it's in a good place where it's at, because just like you said, if you move it up, move it down, you know, it's not really going to be able to compete with these other big sports.
Yeah.
So I think in the summer is perfect because, you know, obviously people are, just like you said, on vacations, out and about or whatnot. But if you're able to draw that attention, you know, that summer is going to be just for WNBA. People are going to watch that. So I think if they just keep adding the excitement to the game and just expanding it or whatnot, I think it'll be in a good place.
Yeah, I'm curious to see in the next few years how it grows and how they market it. You know, I think, you know, I want to see it thrive. I want to see it. And, you know, I just got to make this clear, and we all got to understand this. Will the WNBA be as big as the NBA? Probably not. Like, just being real, it won't. But can it be sustaining and good enough to where I think it can become a profitable league? Absolutely. The tough part is the majority of consumers of all sports is men.
Yeah.
Just being real. We consume, and this is all sports. It don't matter what sport you pick. It could be damn pickleball. It don't matter. We watch sports more than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So it's, you know, I think the WNBA has to figure out this Rubik's Cube of how do we get more women in there? You know, how do we get women to fall in love with the sport? You know what I mean? And once they figure that algorithm out, I think the sport will do just fine, you know, and it'll make some damn good money.
Yeah. I mean, they're already making, you know, a lot more money than what they were.
Absolutely.
I had seen videos of like their all-star games. And just like how poorly the equipment and treatment, you know, they got compared to I mean, obviously it's the NBA, but
right.
You know, now they're able to, I see that they fly like private jets.
They're doing a bunch of private jets, charter jets, all that stuff. So again, it's going in the right direction.
For sure.
You know, I just think they got to capitalize. You know, you're holding lightning in a bottle. You're holding lightning in your hand. You gotta capitalize on it as much as you can. Well, moving on into outside of the professional side of things, you know, the transfer portal. Wanted to talk to you about that. Obviously, as a college hooper yourself, you probably got friends who've utilized this. You're seeing the and I want to talk NIL as well, transfer portal and NIL. What is your overall outlook of that? You know, the potential to be paid. I mean, quite honestly, even with your following, you know, you could essentially be approached for NIL, you know, to some degree. You know, I mean, just what's your overall outlook of all this?
I definitely think it's good for the athletes because it's been long overdue in a sense. You know, they're bringing in.
Trust me, I would take advantage if I could go back in time and be a college who I damn sure would.
You know, you got all these college athletes bringing in billions of dollars to your program organization, and they're not getting nothing. And, you know, I obviously think it's really good for the college athletes to be getting paid and be able to, you know, in a sense, make a really good living off of just being a college athlete. But, you know, earlier when I was talking about, you know, kind of just the loyalty, you know, it kind of just wipes that out.
I know.
You know, people are just they want to go where the money's at. You know, they're not going to care about, you know, if they're going to fit or whatnot. You know, if a college is throwing you some money, they're going to go.
Yeah.
And so I think it ruins it in a sense because, you know, you're just going to have guys bouncing around. And it's just going to even make it even more difficult for this younger generation to get their opportunities, you know, and get their spotlight. Obviously, just like you said, if you're a 5-star, you're going to get.
Yeah, you're going to be,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to the 3-4 stars, you know, it's going to be harder for them. And kids lower than that, you know what I'm saying? They're all probably just going to be going JUCO or something like that. So I definitely think it makes it a lot harder for the younger kids, which kind of sucks in a sense. But I think it's good and bad, you know, in a sense. You know, you have your pros. Like I said, athletes are getting paid. They're probably really happy about that.
Of course.
You're just every year. It's like I don't even know the number, but I'm pretty sure it's thousands of kids that are just in the transfer portal.
Absolutely.
And, you know, when I was a freshman at Davis, like it wasn't necessarily as big. Yeah. But when I entered the transfer portal, like half of those guys did as well. Like on the Davis roster, like I'm pretty sure I think it was like 8 guys had transferred that year. Yeah. Which is crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's half the team.
That's what I'm saying. You know, as a college coach, you're sitting there thinking like, wow, like, you know,
half my team left.
Half my team left. I'm either gonna have to go get half of those guys back in the transfer portal, or you know, search for the college kids or the high school kids. Yeah, you know, so that's why I think JUCO's in a really good spot because you know,
I agree.
You can find really hidden gems at these JUCO places, and I didn't really realize that until I got there. You know, some people they thought about JUCO and they're like,
I'm too good for JUCO or whatever. Yeah, I know that mentality
for sure. So now I think it's kind of getting a bigger spotlight that it deserves because you know there's really good hoopers at the JUCO level, and it's never really seen. So I definitely think they're getting a lot more opportunities, which is good. But you know, like I said, in terms for the high school kids, it kind of sucks because your opportunities are definitely going to be limited. But it's even more of a reason to put in that work. You know what I'm saying? So
no doubt about that. Like, I agree with everything you said. I want to speak on that when it comes to loyalty, right? Kind of what's your outlook on that? And I'm mainly speaking, okay, so I'm circling back to AAU. Overall loyalty is dead in AAU. I mean, to a degree, I think you saw it when you were playing, but and it's really bad now. Like I said, these kids, these parents, I mean, it's like they're looking for any reason to leave.
Yeah, you got a kid 1 week and he's gone.
It's and it's getting to the degree where coaches, and I'm not participating. Now, I do got to say this side of it, right, to just put it all together. I know I speak from a place of some level of privilege, meaning this. I'm an AAU club in Rocklin. I'm an AAU club with my own facility. We're literally sitting inside of it. We're in it, and it's it's not my facility, but our facility. Like we have 50, 80 plus teams, you know, at any given moment in YBA. So there's always kind of like within the system, I could get 9 to 10 really high level kids and coach them up, you know. And I do realize most AAU programs don't have that. Just being real, like probably like 95% of them don't have something like this. Now, granted, a lot of shit. You were here from the beginning. I mean, you know, you walked in, you know, we were just a little court over there, and just like this is 20 years later. That's what people I got keep trying to make it reiterate. This program's been around 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't just do this. Like, it was brick by brick by brick. So I do know I could be like, if a kid quits, you know, like, Coach Chris, we done with you or whatever. It's like, okay, I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Because I know there'll be another kid that's ready to step up. You know what I mean? But I know that's not the norm for most AAU programs out there. So I feel for the coaches that are really good dudes, really good coaches that are losing their kids all the time due to, in my opinion, dumb shit. Because a parent doesn't want their kid accountable. Because a kid doesn't like that the coach sat them down in a game because they were having a bad game, and it just happened. Sorry, you were having the bad game. Irregardless if you're a fucking starter or the star player, you had a bad game. We got to sit you down in order to get this win, or at least put us in a position, because it doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but it puts us in a position where we might win. You might be the problem that game. Doesn't mean you're the worst player on the team just because we're one game you were bad. Yeah. And those parents will take that one game and then dip. You know what I'm saying? Like, loyalty is just gone, man, and it's obviously an individual thing, it's a subjective thing, but that's why I'm asking for you and your how do you feel internally about the concept of loyalty in AAU and basketball? Is it important? You know, just your overall outlook.
You know, like I said, to touch on earlier when I was saying, you know, I'm kind of a guy where I want to be grounded, you know, where I'm at. You know, I don't want to necessarily look at a place and be like, I'm only going to go here, and if it doesn't benefit me, then, you know, I'm out. Yeah. And I feel like that's what a lot of people have an outlook, in a sense. And it's unfortunate, you know, because just like you said, you know, there's good coaches, you know, that are genuinely trying to make kids better. And, you know, and it might not even be, you know, the kid, in a sense. It's
a lot of time it's really not the kid, especially on the youth level. So it's the parents more.
I really think it all comes down to ego. I feel like, you know, parents got a big egos, in a sense. They feel like their kid is better than what they think, and they feel like they can go find better. Yeah. And, you know, if I'm a coach and I'm looking at that, you know, go ahead. Right. If you feel like you can go find better, by all means, go do that. But, you know, like I said, I don't know where it came from. Right. I don't know where people just started getting this, you know, I want to get out of here mentality. It could be just from watching, you know, even just these big leaguers, you know, some of these guys, they just bounce, you know, and it kind of sucks, because it kind of does, you know, damage down the sport in terms of the loyalty, you know. You know, I'm always going to respect a guy like Giannis or Dirk, who's going to spend, you know, multiple countless, you know, Steph, you know, multiple countless years with an organization. And there's been times where it was butt ugly, you know, it wasn't pretty at all. And they were able to still turn that out, you know, win championships like Steph did, obviously. And so, man, I don't know what my advice would be on loyalty, because obviously, just like you said, it's an individual thing. You can't tell someone to be loyal. No, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. It's something that you got to learn and just have an instinct. So it does come from the parents. You know, I'm thankful that mom always taught me and, you know, grew me up on well manners, and I always felt like where I was going to give my all. Mm-hmm. So I'm very blessed to have that trait, because it's very important. You know, I feel like, and it gets you respect. Yes. You know, that stuff gets talked about, just like you said. You know, if you're a guy that's known to just get out when it gets ugly, no one's going to really want you, you know what I'm saying? Especially those top teams. And so I think you got to take every opportunity and try to learn from it as best as you can, even if it's ugly, even if it's a losing season, you know, it's
easy to jump ship, right?
Exactly. And so you reap what you sow. So, you know, if you're going to sit there and bounce from every team, you know, you're not going to be able to sow much, because you haven't planted anything. So I think it's important, you know, wherever you go, try to build the best bond and relationship. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, obviously I was at Davis, I was only there for 1 year. I bounced, you know, but that wasn't necessarily my decision. Right. I wanted to stay there and whatnot, but.
Well, I mean, you could take Yuba, for instance. You had your year at Yuba. I'm sure you could have
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to, after that first year, you could have went to ARC or Sac City or Kasuna. You know what I mean?
Sure.
No, they would have easily taken you. You know what I'm saying? But you said, no, I want to stay here. I want to run it back.
Yeah. So I think it's important to just get the most out of every opportunity where you're at, for one, and two, you got to build that character. It's so easy to damage it, and it's important going on in becoming a man, because even if I did jump that ship, who knows where I'd be now,
right?
So you just got to stay grounded, just know that you're where you're at for a reason, and so you got to take advantage of it at full capacity and just try to get the most out of it. So.
And well, the biggest thing right now is obviously shoe circuits in AAU. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard or seen, Puma has a circuit now.
Oh, really?
And New Balance has a circuit now.
Oh, wow.
So there's, Puma, New Balance. There's still the Made Hoops Independence circuit, or they call it, what's the name of it? It's not Made Hoops is the youth side, but they have a high school version of that circuit, which is still independent. And of course you have Under Armour, Adidas, Nike, right? Shoe circuits are where everybody's trying to get to. Even me, I ended up signing with Adidas, but I'm on the Adidas Gold. So like the major circuits have essentially like a JV and a varsity side, right? You got UA Rise, U Under Armour Association, you got Adidas Gold and Adidas 3 SSB, and then you have Nike EYBL, and now there's the EYCL. So you guys have like a varsity and JV version of each major circuit. Okay. And Puma, I think, has their two. I think they have 2 circuits, and I think New Balance has 1. So because this was just their first year. So everybody's fighting to get that, right? Everybody wants that contract. Everybody wants the big shoe company contract that, I'm not paying, they're paying me. Right. But obviously you got to get a certain type of player. Yep. My goal, and I've advocated for it, I even think posted it on my reel today, and I've been advocating for it a lot, is I believe Sacramento has the talent to where we don't need to outsource ourselves. That's why I'm kind of like segueing from loyalty to loyalty, not just loyalty in AAU and the culture, but now loyalty in terms of wanting to represent your city. Yeah. The unfortunate side of it is Sacramento has in which I firmly believe we're a basketball city, this abundance of talent. It's always getting outsourced. Yeah. Sincere, this really high level freshman, Intercom, and his pop's a good dude. We talk and debate all the time on our social media, but I have a lot of respect for him. He ended up playing with the Nike EYBL team, and then he finished up playing at the Adidas 3SB with, I think, Dream Vision, I think it was. And at Mark, he played for the EYBL Soldiers. Then he ended up, the year before that, this is a kid at Rocklin High. He did Jalen Green Elite, and then Jalen Green Elite is an affiliate of Lake Show, basically. Then he finished out at Lake Show. And the list goes on and on. But I'm saying all these Sacramento-based guys, like I said, Rock Hill, Rocklin, right down the street. He leaves and goes basically represent Jalen Green Elite, whatever, which good on him. I get it. You get to be at that high stage. You get the colleges looking at you, all that. But let's say you do really well. You're helping a Fresno-based program. So basically it's just putting a spotlight on Fresno. Yeah. Meanwhile, this is where you live. And that's the crazy part when it comes to Sacramento. Outside of PHPS signing with New Balance, we are the only city that doesn't really have a major. We have no Nike EYBL team. We have no Adidas 3SSB team. We have no Under Armour team. You know what I mean? But everyone outsources our talent. Yeah. So my goal is I want to make like a Sac United team. I want to work with all these organizations and try to get like the best 10 kids and then go out there and just beat the crap out of all these top teams, but it would take some kids, some parents that are willing to say no to the other organizations. You know what I mean? And I that's my long-winded spiel, but I'm just basically asking you, do you think Sacramento talent should stay in Sacramento as much as possible to try to represent the city?
I think It's all about situation.
Okay.
Know. Obviously, I play for Team Arsenal.
Yeah, and they're in Fairfield. I mean, that's why I want your perspective.
Yeah, so, I think it's just all about situation. If you feel like you can go to a team out, a little bit out, and, you're going to get the looks that you want and you're going to be able to perform, I would say do that, of course. But just like you said, I really like that vision. Just want to say, but if you do start building that and you start building more attention to that, I think obviously kids are going to gravitate towards it because it's in the area. It's a lot, they don't have to drive all the way out there to or to the Bay Area or whatnot. And, there's just going to be this spotlight on Sacramento. And, I feel like any young kid should have an aspiration of wanting to show out for your hometown, you know what I'm saying, and put that spotlight on them because it's just like, that's where the love's at, you know. So,
and I mean, that's my personal goal or whatever, and again, it's not, I try to make it clear, I don't knock kids for going to the Soldiers or going to Team Lillards or, like you said, Arsenal, and doing your journey to get you on that stage. I have no issue with that. Yeah. But man, like I said, it's tough. It's bittersweet. Let me put it like that, because it's like I watch a kid like yourself grow up in this area, play in this area, evolve in this area, connect with the people in this area. Then I'm watching you in an Arsenal jersey. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's bittersweet. I'm happy for you. Yeah. But how much better would it be to see you in like a Sacramento team's jersey? You know what I'm saying? That's where that comes from. That's the, I guess, selfish side of me.
That's valid. It's valid.
We'll see if I could ever make that happen. But no, I just I would like to see Sacramento be more united in the basketball community. I think our culture in Sacramento kind of sucks basketball wise. I don't know if you really experienced it as a player. I mean, like I said, you're a young man now, so maybe you're seeing a little more behind the curtain. And what I mean is like trainers be beefing, or AAU coaches and directors be beefing. Like maybe now you're seeing, because like I said, when you're a player and you're young, you ain't, you're not even meant, you don't need to see that shit. You're a kid, be a kid, right? But now that you're a young man and you're an adult, you kind of like, damn, wait, you don't like him? Like, why you don't like him? Yeah. Wait, you don't like, for what? You know what I'm saying? Do you kind of, have you seen some of this type of stuff?
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I feel like, man, it's weird in a sense, because it's just like, now that they know all these kids are trying to bounce from, team to team in a sense, it's just like, who's got the best to offer in a sense? And it's just like, people are willing to go at war for these kids, because, I had some encounters with some trainers that, I guess try to take the spotlight. Some of these trainers, they try to take the spotlight from the kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's cool, because it's just, you are helping that player get better, but it's not about you. Yeah. So I think.
Let me ask you this real quick while it pops in my head. Have you ever had like someone, quote unquote, asked to train you just to get the clip of it? Have you ever experienced that?
No, I don't think so.
Because,
when I was in high school and stuff, I just, like, people knew me, but we weren't in that, I guess, area of where people are trying to get those clicks and stuff like that. So.
I've just seen a lot of that lately. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there'll be like a kid that's about to sign in, like the 10 different trainers want to work with this kid all of a sudden and, make that video and I think attach themselves to that kid and stuff like that. That's
I was very blessed with trainers. The people that I train with, I always, thank them, and just, just real cool, genuine people, what I'm saying? And like I said, back then it was a lot better time, for, I feel like trainers were a lot more authentic, but, you still kind of saw it in a sense, but I feel like nowadays it's probably a lot more like that.
Yeah. It's, again, well, E-Top said it on like the little documentary they just did. Forgot the name of it. I want to watch it though. But he said, our community is great. Basketball community in Sacramento is great in my opinion. It's growing, like I said, all the time. You still got some good, stable cornerstone coaches and programs, but the culture kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The culture is taking a hit. Because I get, it is this like mentality of I gotta beat you.
Yeah,
I gotta be better than you. I gotta talk shit about you. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I don't like it. That's just my outlook on it. I don't like it, and I do try to keep in mind. Like I said before, I'm in my own island out here. You know what I mean? Like I'm kind of not exposed to that, but I also do know, I'm on my own island, meaning I have to figure things out and be self-sustaining. I'm not going to get the support. Maybe it's some of the hardest things for me is to be able to like recruit a Sacramento kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of Sacramento kids don't necessarily want to take the drive here. You know, they're just like, oh, Rocklin, that's too far.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it's like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's really even that far.
But there's, you know, and then there's kids in programs that go against YBA for years and years and years and years and years. And they built like this weird resentment of our AAU program. Like, you know, I mean, like, and I say this before, you call it what it is. Like the majority of the club is predominantly white. The majority of the club, this is the suburb. So you do have some kids that come from some good homes and privilege. Okay, but that's, so what? You know what I mean? Like, this is California, man. We're a melting pot. Like, there's everybody here. Like, you know, so those are kind of some of the things I run into, you know what I mean? And I hate it. I just want, man, like I said, it's just a passion of mine. I really want to see a Sacramento-based team just go out there and stick together and, you know, make it happen. You know what I mean?
I think it's a really good idea, something that you should continue to strive on. I know it's hard, you know, because especially it's not necessarily the kids, it's, you know, usually the parents, but it would really be cool to see something like that, you know, see something inside of Sacramento, you know, be built from Sacramento and just be able to explore and expand. So, you know, I like that vision. Keep going with it.
I'm going to try, man. I wanted to ask you if you could speak to parents, right? Again, like I said, you're someone that's, you know, seen the highs of the highs and bounce back and keep pushing. What would be your advice to parents for their young athletes, their you know, aspiring, you know, like what are some tips you can give to the parents on how to deal and how to navigate this basketball journey with their child?
You know, I think it's one of the important things, you know, like I said, the system, you know, it's all about where your kid's going to be, how he's going to be played, if he's being played to his strengths, you know, how he's being treated and stuff like that. And so I think the program obviously is very important in just knowing the coach and his vision, you know, for the game and what he would have for your kid and stuff like that, and seeing if it's realistic or not, you know, because I feel like when I was in AAU, they would try to put their kids in these programs, these big programs, and they weren't necessarily that good.
Right.
And, you know, they didn't fit it and stuff like that. And not to say if your kid's, you know, not that good or whatnot, but just I feel like if you put him in a system where he can thrive, he will enjoy it a lot better than trying to put him up with the best of the best and he might not be there yet.
Right.
So, you know, like I said, ego definitely plays a part of that, but just maybe humble yourself a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It could really help your kid get to where he needs to be, he or she, and it will help them a lot. And like I said, it'll help them enjoy the game a lot better. If they run into a coach where they, you know, are not being treated right or, you know, not being played or whatever the case may be, you know, it's going to make them lose their passion, I feel like, especially at a young age. So I
try to tell parents, and it's so cliche, but it is so true, you know, just trust the process.
Yeah.
Like you know, sit back, relax. Obviously, you're still an active participant. You know, I always try to tell parents, learn the game. Don't just watch it, learn it so you can kind of decipher what's going on out there. You know, do you have to have the same mind as myself as a coach where I eat, breathe, and live this crap? No, you don't have to do that. But if you get, you know, I try to advise most parents, if you learn enough of the game and you understand what's going on, it will help you be able to process. You know what I mean? Like I did a video, went a little semi-viral or whatever, introducing a depth chart to people just so they understand how it works.
Yeah.
Because like I was talking to one of the kids I coach, her kids in high school. And she was like, my son, you know, is barely playing. He's not getting enough playing time and whatnot. And I said, well, okay. I said, well, how many minutes roughly do you think he's playing? You know, high school, 4 quarters, right? 4 7-minute or 8-minute quarters. She's like, well, it's probably like, you know, 2-3 minutes. I was like, oh, for the game? She was like, no, like a quarter. I said, if he's playing, let's say on the low end, 2 minutes, a quarter, it's 8 minutes out of, again, if it's 32 minutes, how's that not a lot? You know what I mean? I was trying to explain, and he's a sophomore on varsity. I'm like, how's that not a lot? I was like, I had to really break it down numerically to parents that I think their concept of a lot of playing time is like their child playing to either the point of exhaustion or playing to where they get a certain amount of stats.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell parents, like, that's not how basketball really is played. I mean, you went, there's going to be times, especially with you 7, you guys had that strong group of 7.
Mm-hmm.
So then of course, 8, 9, 10 is going to get the least amount of playing time, but it doesn't mean their minutes aren't valuable when they're out there, playing. You understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
So it's like, I really had to like break this down to parents to kind of understand. And that's why I make some of these videos and stuff like that. Cause I'm trying to get them to it takes a very special and rare individual that's going to just play fucking damn near the whole game.
I had a lot of arguments with my mom in a sense, because I feel like she would kind of get mad at me sometimes that I, wouldn't have the stats that you were talking about. And I would try to explain to her, I'm like, look, like, there's going to be games where I'm not scoring, 15 to 20. Even though I'm the best player on the team, there's going to be games where it's just I'm not shooting the ball well, but there's other aspects of the game. How am I defending? Am I rebounding? Am I getting my guys shots? Like, there's so much more valuable aspects to the game that people don't really look at. They just care about the scoring.
Well, of course.
They just care about, the big aspects of the game. And, I would try to sit there and tell her, I'm like, look, like, I may not have scored, but I got the game-winning rebound or game-winning style. Like, it's little things like that are so important, not only to just the game itself, but, to college coaches. College coaches are going to see that and be like, oh, he's going to defend when the game's on the line, or he's going to do these little things when we need him to, and he's not
taking a charge, just diving for a loose ball. I mean, plus, like you said, talking, have that argument with your mom, it's like the other thing they don't take into account when you are the best player, the opposing team is game planning for you.
Exactly.
It's like, Mom, I have to adapt to what this other team is throwing at me. They might throw 3 people at me at a fucking time. Yeah. I got to be able to pass the ball. I got to be like, do you understand? So no, I'm not going to drop 20 because me trying to force shots over 2 or 3 guys as opposed to just giving the rock up and being a playmaker or just stepping outside that scoring role to do what's necessary for my team to win.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? I think parents need to learn. That's why I think it's important if they learn the game a little bit.
Exactly. I think it's really important because, like I said, if your kid is bringing things to the game that the team doesn't have, a coach is always going to want that. No coach is ever going to sit there and turn down a Draymond Green. And I'm not saying like you don't have to be a Draymond Green.
Right, of course.
I'm saying like players like that are more valuable than people really, give them credit for.
It's the intangibles.
So, you know what I'm saying? So I think if your kid is able to do the little things, when dive for loose balls, take charges, do things for the teams that, necessarily other guys don't want to do, a coach is going to want that player 10 out of 10 times. So.
Absolutely. And can you recall, because like I said, you've played and, even like you said, had the ball is life, the social media fame a little bit, everything. But can you recall a time where maybe you felt nervous or, doubtful in any point in your career? I mean, outside of what you were dealing with at Davis, I mean, like when you were at, like Yuba or actually playing, was there a game where you were just kind of like, damn, I just don't got it. You know what I mean? Like, I always want people to kind of get the insight of the mental ups and the mental downs, right? So
the first thing that comes to, I feel like the time I was most nervous is when I was my first tournament with Team Arsenal.
Oh, okay.
I had worked out with KP and whatnot, and he immediately was like, we're going out to Dallas. We're going to be in this tournament. And I had no idea who any of the players were, never met them.
You're just like, all right.
I had no plays, no nothing. Literally just went out there. I hooped. I had a really good tournament. And that was kind of what got my exposure up. But I would say that was when I was most nervous. I'm like, I have no idea who any of these guys are. I don't even know if I'm going to play. You know what I'm saying? I didn't start, and one of the starters kind of like had a bad start. Like, KP, if you do that, like, you're coming out the game.
Right.
And so he put me in. You know, I did what I had to, had some plays, but I just remember just like, if I mess up, I may not ever play this guy. So.
And when you traveled, when you did the travel ball deal and all that stuff, can you recall some times you had, just some great memories, some great fun times, or, some good games that just stick out to you that you can think about?
I think most recently it was just the San Diego trip with Yuba. I necessarily didn't. I wouldn't say I played great in that tournament, obviously at the biggest stage and whatnot, but just the feeling with those guys and what we were feeling at the moment, and just, after winning the first game, we were so high, so lit and everything, and then obviously we lost to West Valley, and we were just all heartbroken. But it really was just a trip that, it was special in a sense, because everyone was so locked into what we were doing. Like, no one was worried about nothing else, and I feel like we were just so glued in together, and that was just honestly one of the best memories I've ever created with a team, to just be in that moment and be playing this high level basketball. Nice. And to have all this exposure and whatnot, and to have a goal in mind. And it just, obviously we fell short and whatnot, but that kind of stuff you'll never forget. So, it was really special with those guys, those my brothers for sure. For life, just love those guys.
Build bonds through fire, man.
Absolutely.
Did with Coach Korn, it's probably my last question I'm thinking about. I'm off of my list. I think this was like one of the last one or two. But with Coach Korn and Coach Nate, shout out to Coach Nate as well, because I don't want to forget him.
Great guy.
He'll kill me if I forget. Coach Stevens.
And the GOAT, Coach Greg.
You're right.
Amazing.
They're tough coaches. You know what I mean? They have high expectations. They're tough coaches. I would for sure Coach Stevens, high IQ, million sets, million plays, all that stuff, So I can't stress enough for those listening or those watching, IQ is a huge part. So,
Absolutely.
It can't just be your physical abilities and your skill. I don't think enough emphasis is put on IQ. JJ Redick's podcast is kind of illuminated more on how the importance of IQ, because obviously when you hear him talk, he sounds like a very intelligent person and very articulate and good basketball player. Now, did he deserve the Lakers job? That's up for debate. But he's definitely shown that, IQ is highly important and how much that can sustain you. But the biggest question I wanted to ask you was, having coaches like that, that are tough, I'm sure there was plenty of practices where Korn, gotten guys and, told them about themselves. And it wasn't, hugs and tickles and, clouds and rainbows, right? They telling them like, you need to get this done. I think we've gotten to a culture, like I told you, what unfortunately has happened in AAU coaches. I'm still that gritty coach, but I will say, because I'm old, young, whatever you want to call it, I still teach the game the way it's played now. You know what I mean? Fast pace, looking for available shots, heavy ball movement, high level college sets. I still emphasize all that, right? What I'm mainly asking you is, when you have coaches that are tough on you like that, like a Korn, like that, did that bother you? Did that inspire you? Did that, obviously there's going to be some days where in your mind you're like, man, this dude tripping, but obviously I'm assuming you might self-reflect and go, you know what, he was right. You know what I mean? Things like that. What advice can you give to some of these parents and kids who seem to be running away from the U side from hard coaching?
I think I've always had tough coaches. I don't think there's ever been a coach where they kind of just let me be. And it's so vital, I don't want to say this, but I necessarily will respect you less if you're going to sit there and let me slide with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to make me better. You got to make me want to fix the things that I know that I'm doing wrong and want to be better at them. You know what I'm saying? And so iron sharpens iron, obviously. But I have always respected all my coaches that are going to sit there and tell me face to face what I'm doing wrong and what I need to do better. And so I think it's so vital. And I don't know why someone would, I guess someone could sit there and be like, oh, you're being too rude to my kid. But just like you said, it's out of love.
Yeah.
No one's going to sit there and tell you what you're doing wrong if they don't care about you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And, so,
and I do make the distinction of disrespect and coaching. Like,
absolutely.
Like I'm not going to go up because I got a little group of 4th, 5th graders, right? No, I'm not going to go up to my little 4th, 5th graders say, you're weak as shit and you're terrible. And no, I wouldn't even do that to a high school kid, right? But will I get in my kid and say, hey, you got to give me effort. If you don't give me effort, if you can't at minimum put your hands up, I'd rather you stay home, right? But because maybe my delivery's a little loud, they're like, oh, you hurt his feelings. You told him to stay home. No, I didn't tell him stay home. I said, if he's not going to give me effort, stay home.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's really funny how parents have selective memory like that.
Yeah. I think, they do take it as disrespect, but obviously if you're, taking it, if you're looking at a different perspective of being a parent and you're trying to understand that this coach wants my kid to get better at certain aspects, it'll go a long way. Because obviously if, I feel like if parents get offended, it's because they don't parent like that. You know what I'm saying? They don't necessarily.
Pretty true.
They let their kid just slide. They let them, the disrespect go. And if it's like, if you're not going to discipline your kid and hold them accountable, how are they going to hold themselves accountable? You know what I'm saying? And so,
well, life will hold them accountable at some point. That's the hard part.
They're going to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
So I think it's, like I said, it's just very important to have a coach who's not necessarily like, well, you want a coach who's in your corner, but just a coach who is going to tell you what you're doing wrong, and they're going to want you to get better each and every single day. And so I've always loved my coaches and always just never taken it for granted because, each one has had a different coaching style in a sense, but I've always had great relationships with them. So
no, that's good. For you, if the opportunity presents itself, do you have aspirations to play, after college, whether it will be, professionally overseas or, Lord willing, let's say things work out and you make it to the league. You never know, right? Yeah. Is that kind of a personal goal for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of look at overseas and I question it in a sense just because it's a lot. That's probably the biggest adaptation to anything. You know what I'm saying? You're moving across the world, different time zone, different culture. You're not going to know anybody. I mean, if you're able to bring family, I would suggest do it because it's probably going to be your biggest support and just helping you adapt there. But the goal's always been NBA.
Right.
That's why I put in the work to do every single day. And so I believe I got the talent and skills to do so. So.
And this is my last question for you, and then we'll get out of here. And I appreciate you hanging in there with me, man. So you really transformed your game overall. I've been fortunate enough to see. I went to a couple Yuba games when you guys were at ARC. I was there because I live right down the street. So I watched you guys and I watched you as well. You really you've turned your game into a well-rounded player. And obviously your ability to shoot has gotten much better, your IQ, everything. What all did it take? Like, I mean, obviously, the hours in the gym, of course, but I'm just saying, like, because you have some kids who, and I know I coach a few myself, who I look at, they have the God-given gifts that you were given, the natural athleticism, the fast twitch muscles, the instincts, right? The natural instincts. But again, I tell them you can't rely on that your whole career and your whole life. And I think you figured it out and you transformed your game. So, I just wanted you to kind of speak of that process of how you did it, maybe some key things you focused in on, just that got you there.
Yeah. Honestly, I would say my biggest thing is film. You know, I have spent a lot of time just studying the game of basketball, not only just at the highest levels, but even just my game. You know, I would sit there and watch games and realize what I'm doing, and even just the bad parts, because, you know, people, they'll watch film.
We love watching highlights.
Yeah, they want to get the highlights and just get out of there, you know what I'm saying? They don't want to look at the ugly parts of the game. And so, you know, I would sit there and I would just analyze what is being given to me and what I did in the time, and if it was the right decision or if there was something better I could have done. And so, just like you said, IQ is such a big part of the game. And if you really get yourself to understand the game and understand what is being given to you, I feel like it'll help your game out a lot, because it's more than just, you know, getting to your spots and stuff like that. It's a whole lot more. It's understanding that, okay, he's giving me this look, he's playing me this way, so I got this read, you know. And so I think film helped me, you know, really see that, because, you know, if you're training, you know, you don't necessarily have that live look in a sense, and you don't have just the feel of the game. And so I feel like understanding in film what I was doing wrong really helped me to get better in terms of just reading and making the right plays. So
okay, all right. And was there any specific drills you did that you think could benefit some kids or something over the top, or anything you'd like, you know, unique for yourself, that, just like I said, just trying to give some tips out there for some of these young guys that might be in your boat?
I feel like when I'm training, I try to envision, you know, what it would look like in game to the best of my ability. So I don't necessarily say I have a specific drill or drills that I do. It's just whatever I'm doing. If I'm in that, you know, position, I'm asking myself, if the defense is giving me this and I get here, this is how I got to get here. And, you know, it'll implement itself into the game when you're actually there. So I feel like that's what's helped me best, is when I'm, you know, training or doing drills and stuff like that. It's really helped me to understand what my spots will look like in game if I envision it right there.
Just like moving at game speed and moving at game speed. Okay. Let me see. Just always adjusting the sound. There you go. Well, that's my last question for you. Did you have any shout outs you wanted to do real quick or anything like that while we're doing our closing?
I feel like I shouted out.
Yeah, you did mention your mom, so that's important.
I mentioned my mom, mentioned the Lord Jesus Christ, you know what I'm saying? Give him all glory. And shout out to everyone who's been on my journey.
All right. Again, if you've stayed till the end, you are a real one. Appreciate you. I will have links to his IG in the description. Again, I suggest go follow him, follow his journey, see his path, see how it plays out. Hopefully this episode's helped you guys get some insight. You know, again, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, do the HBO special, help a brother out. I definitely keep appreciating those who are telling me I'm doing something that's helping you guys learn this game a little bit, because that's all I care about. I just want to give you guys free game information, help you parents, you kids navigate this field, because I love this game, I love this sport. But again, there's a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, what's going on between the transfer portal, between AAU, the shoe companies, all this stuff. So I'm going to keep giving you my word and my insight, and keep bringing you hopefully great guests like you, Cam. I appreciate you. Best of luck to you at your school.
Appreciate that.
Obviously, I'll be keeping in touch from afar.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, again, please, for your athletes out there, stay healthy, stay safe, keep working hard, stay on your grind, and good things will happen. Everybody stay blessed. God bless. We're out.
Yes, sir.